Welcome, Andrea.
Hi, Brinkley.
This is take two for us, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. We did half
Mm.
an hour of a previous interview and we got interrupted by my daughter, which was actually one of my favorite moments on all of the interviews because I don't know if you remember, you got out a little frog pen and showed it to her and it cheered her up. So I always thought, oh, I quite like Andrea. That was a really nice moment.
No,
You got your frog pen out and soothed her.
I'm glad my trick worked. I have a boy. He's 6 now, but I learned a few things along the way.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Thanks. And here we are for take two. So let's get on with it. Yeah, where should we start? I was looking at your website. I really loved it. I've got a few things I'd like to pick out and ask you about around that. But let's start with your professional context. What is the makeup of your business? I mean, what do you do as a coach?
Mhm. If you don't mind, I'll extend it because I do more than coaching,
Mhm.
and it's all related to coaching. So I am a coach and a mentor and a supervisor. And as a coach, I help individuals, mostly women, but not only, to to live either a more authentic or authentic life, to find their authenticity, and both in their personal life and in business. As a mentor, I help mostly coaches and service based businesses to either launch their business or grow their business. But it's again very linked to authenticity, to how can you build your business and advertise it and make it visible in a very authentic way. And I can explain that as we go along. And as a supervisor, I just help coaches or whoever uses coaching as a tool to be the best coach that they can be. So yeah, this is the makeup of my business.
There's three things I heard: supervision, mentoring, and coaching.
That's right.
Let's just focus on the supervision quickly because I know you're a supervisor for Animas. What does that entail, and how did you become a supervisor for Animas?
Mm. I started supervision because I wanted to really support other coaches in their practice. And then while I was training with ICCS, it turned out the supervision was hugely beneficial for me as well. And I literally fell in love with it. And I really focused on growing my supervision practice alongside my coaching practice, and it's going really well. And part of this, I'm a very active member of the ICCS, trying to be there in every training that Nick offers. And Nick asked me whether I would be happy to do the reflective supervision practice for the supervisors in training. And that's how I became part of the faculty for ICCS.
Nice. So you host the reflective practice groups for the ICCS, which is the International Centre for Coaching Supervision.
That's right. That's right. I'm one of the hosts.
Fab. So you found supervision a bit later on, I guess, through your coach development, and what it became for you was an integral part of your not only your business but your development as a coach as well. What I hear there.
That's right. I qualified at the end of 2021. So quite a new supervisor.
And before then, you were coaching and mentoring then.
That's right. That's right. I qualified as a coach 10 years ago. And for a long period of time, I used coaching in the corporate world as part of my other roles within the corporate world. I used coaching as a tool, basically, in the corporate world, in financial services. And then about 3 years ago, I launched my own coaching practice.
3 years.
About 3.5 years ago, yes.
And the mentoring piece, where you work with other coaches or other, I guess, service-led business providers, when did that come in? Was that always been a part of your coaching offer?
I started about two years ago to work. I attended a lot of coaching groups that had coaches who were at the beginning of their journey, and we had a lot of conversations, and I offered support to these coaches, and I thought I really enjoyed this. And they got so much out of it. So I decided to really want to work with coaches and to continue to pursue this, to help them both with their business and now through supervision to support them to grow their skills, their coaching skills. And it's such a beautiful combination. And working with coaches, it has something about it, because coaches are open by nature to growth, to development. They want it. It's part of their DNA. So it's so, in a way, easy and beautiful to work with them, because they are so keen and curious to learn, to grow, to open, to being challenged, to being brought outside of their comfort zone, is such a beautiful type of person to work with, I find. So that's where also my focus on supervision is, because I want to stay in this area where I work with coaches, mainly with coaches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was nodding along there as I completely agree. I also love working with coaches, and by the sounds of it, you've got a really holistic offer, in the sense that you're a trained supervisor, you're a trained coach, and you've built a coaching business, so you can bring those mentoring skills in. So whatever topic someone might bring to you, a new coach, you've got them covered by the sounds of it.
Yes, that's right. And I did feel like supervision completes the circle, because we might touch on this, but the things that I struggled with at the beginning of my coaching business and career were two key things. One was, how do I turn this passion into a business? And the other one was, how do I gain confidence, real confidence, to help others when you're at the beginning of your journey, right? How do you build that confidence? Because you're quite new in your coaching skills, and you don't have a big track record of helping others get results and move forward. So how do you navigate through this stage when you're still building your confidence, but you're so thirsty for helping others, and you're so willing, to be out there and help others?
Yeah, let's definitely unpack that a little bit later, and that type of work and how you apply that. So I mentioned that this is take 2 of our interview at the start, and I guess I didn't need to mention it, but for some reason I feel like I love the truth. I love people to have the context, the transparency, and that kind of segues me nicely to something I saw on your website, and I wrote it down before we jumped on this call, but it was, prepared to hear the truth and are not afraid to be challenged. And I really liked that, and I thought, I wondered what your take on that was, because I've got a take on how you might show up with that, if that's relevant to how you coach these days. But can you expand on that a little bit more?
Yes, it's I find that a lot of people want a lot of things, but not so many are prepared to do something about what they want to achieve. And sometimes when I ask people, so do you mind if I challenge you? What's your relationship with challenge? Are you okay to be challenged? And they say, yes, that's not a problem. And when we get to them being challenged, they get a bit defensive. Some, not everybody, but some, they get a bit defensive, and when they are put in front of the challenge, it's not the same story as thinking about being challenged, and needing to take action and face some fears, face some situations. So yes, I think it needs a bit of courage and commitment to really look at what's really going on for me, or for you, in order to be able to really grow and move forward where you're stuck, or where the situation that you want to get out of, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and what I took from that also was that you're kind of straightforward in your approach and happy to name and notice, and as you say, tell the truth, as long as those people are up for it as well.
Yes, with permission.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, with permission, but I do tend to select my clients and to have this conversation before we engage in a coaching relationship on their openness to be challenged, to face the truth and their own truth, right? Or what is my truth, but sharing, this is my truth, how do you see it? Because there's not one truth, right? And yes, we do. I do tend to select who I work with to make sure that we do align and my approach is fit for the client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that certainly came through in your website. I really enjoyed reading it and looking how, I guess, clear it was, clearly defined and straightforward and to the point, and everything you just shared there, and I think is representation of what I took from your website as well. A quick question on the challenge and the sharing out the truth. Is that in addition to, let's say, following the ICF core competencies, or do you say that type of work, that type of sharing sits outside of the ICF core competencies? It's just something I'm curious about, because many coaches I speak to who are aligned with the ICF core competencies also share with me that they don't only work in that way. They also have a toolkit that they pull from that sits outside of those core competencies. So that was another reason why I pulled that sentence out. So I was wondering, how does that sit in with that type of work?
Very good question. Very good question. And I tend to think of my coaching as very rarely pure coaching. I sometimes bring in mentoring, sometimes I do share sometimes my views, with permission, of course. I share my experience, I do challenge people, and I contract for that. So and maybe it's part of the authenticity that I mentioned at the beginning, that I like to do things my way, and bring in that personal approach and what I see fit for the client in the moment. So that can be, in a way, in addition to the ICF core competencies.
Thank you. And that was my assumption, I think, about how you might work, but really interesting to hear your take on it as well. So we're going to have I guess, a slightly shorter interview than what I'm usually doing. So I kind of want to move into your business building journey quite quickly, and those topics that you specifically mentioned that you like to share about. But before we do that, what's a brief potted history? My understanding from what you said earlier is you had a career in corporate, working across the levels. Coaching was brought into that space. That's where you learned coaching.
That's
and
right.
You had a private practice, as it were, independent for the last 3 years. Would you expand or add anything to that?
So I started my working career in our family business. So I worked there a few years And then I felt like I need to go out there in the big world and learn more. And once what I learned, I can apply in our family business. But it didn't happen. I stayed out there in the world, in the corporate world for 10 years, in the financial services, where I had various roles, but the key role that I had for the longest is in project management. And there, it was a really good role because I could use coaching a lot, both with my team and with my peers and with my superiors, because I was reporting into the CEO and vice presidents. So coaching skills were really useful. And alongside my full-time job in the corporate world, I also did life coaching outside of the full-time job. So that helped me to really maintain my coaching practice. And I started to enjoy it so much that I said I want to turn it into a business and into a full-time role. And also in my coaching, in my career in the corporate world, I got to a point where in the business that I was working in, I felt like I've experienced a lot, and I was at a point where I was ready to move into something else. And actually, before I launched my coaching business, I had a few years of experience in marketing. I studied digital marketing and I worked in marketing to get some practical experience, which were really useful in me launching my coaching business, all those skills. So I really feel like today I'm really combining all the experiences that I had, work experiences that I had, together with my curiosity for how do people think and how do they form their beliefs, their decisions, what makes them ultimately happy. And it's such I feel like I'm at the peak of my life and career where I can combine everything and create a masterpiece.
What is it about you that had you choose coaching?
I think myself, like many other coaches, if not all of them, I feel like I was born to be a coach. I was always a coach. I was always the one listening to my friends, to my family. I was always the one where my friends and family and colleagues came with tricky life situations, or, those emotional situations, or them wanting to reach a goal but not quite sure how to do it, or they needed that extra support in terms of belief that yes, you can do this, of confidence, self-belief and confidence. And when I was introduced to coaching through one of the trainings that I've done, I felt like, yes, this is it. This thing that I love doing has a name and it's a profession, so it's, yes, it's something that I am. And I'm just using those skills that I have built on, some natural skills. I've built on some natural skills and I'm using them now. And I can call it my passion and my business and my career. Does that answer your question, Brinsley?
It really does. Yeah, 100%. And I love the way you articulated that. And it sounded really inspiring that you've landed at your calling, the thing that you're supposed to be doing. So that's really nice to hear. So let's look forward then. I'm really interested to find out about your business building journey and also hear some nuggets of wisdom around what you support new coaches on, because many of the people that listen to these interviews are coaches or new coaches, I would say, who are looking for those nuggets or those interesting bits of wisdom to support them in their business building journey. So when you look at your business building journey, let's say the last 3 years, and I realize what you're saying, a lot of what you do now is predicated on the 20 years previously to that as well. But as we look at actually developing a business of being a coach, what stands out for you? What are the overarching themes?
I'm just putting down a note. What you said, I really liked that. What I'm building now is based on top of 20 years of experience. And this is one of the biggest things that newer coaches maybe don't realize, or it's a realization when we talk about it, is they almost never start from scratch. It's very rare for a coach to have coaching as their first career, as their first choice, like come out of school and go straight into coaching. So I always think about a coach as they never start from scratch. They always bring in some previous experience. And I like to use that experience because you are who you are. And in coaching, you bring so much of who you are. It's not like a skill that you learn and you just apply the skill, right? Like a plumber, for example. You bring so much of yourself into this profession that is very rare, if not impossible, for you to start from scratch. So if you look at it this way, and you build your business around this based on what you did in the past, and ideally something that continues what you did in the past, rather than start with a brand new niche. For example, we have these conversations a lot about niching. So where should I choose my niche, or how should I choose my niche? And I believe that it's mostly something that's always been there, or it's been there for a long time. You don't need to look for something brand new. And another big learning for me was that at the beginning, I looked at coaching. If this is my passion, then why am I struggling to, because there's the saying, just do what you're passionate about and the money will come.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, if this is my passion, I'm doing it. Why is the money not coming? And this was my experience, right? And I realized that alongside the coaching skills, I needed business skills. I needed to apply some entrepreneurial skills, like specifically sales and marketing, and where I had to really focus on those skills and not just expect for the business to come without me putting some attention and focus on the business skills. I see it like a Libra, like a balance between coaching skills and business skills. If you want to have a coaching business that doesn't rely on maybe exclusively on associate work, which it could be a very good business where others bring in the business for you and you do just coaching. But if you want to find your clients and to serve them, then I think business skills are really important. At least this was my journey and this was my learning. And not only to learn the business skills, but also do it my way. And what I mean by that, we hear so much about do marketing like this, do videos because those are the best, go on social media because that's the best, go here and there, do these things in this way, have a funnel, not have a funnel. There's so much out there. And which one should I choose? Because there's no right or wrong. So I decided to do it my way. And this is where authenticity comes in. What suits my personality? What suits my style? If I'm a very good writer, then let me write a lot. Let me reach out to my potential clients through writing, through blogs. If I'm a very good speaker, then let me do that. personally, I'm very good in creating one-to-one rapport and relationships. So I attend and through conversation. So that's how I build my business, through conversation. I attend a lot of events. I like the physical and lately a lot virtual contact and conversations. And that's one of the ways that I build my business, one of the main ways actually that I build my business.
All through one-to-one relationships that you've created somewhere or another?
One-to-one and group,
Mm-hmm.
networking, events.
And was there a process that you had to go through? Because you mentioned about tuning into what's authentic for you or for the coach. Was there a period of trial and error where you tried a bit of blogging or a bit of podcasting? What did that look like?
Of course, there was an overwhelming period when I listened to, because I've done the digital marketing training. It was a bit easier for me because I knew the various ways of that you could market yourself, and I knew the pros and cons. I was always the type of person that looked what suits me, what's something that really fits my way of being. So the two combined made my journey a little bit easier. But even when I started to look into how can I use, for example, social media, there was so much out there and it was so time consuming. So I really had to go through what's the most productive way for me to use my time, because I realized it's not about how much you do, but how much are you making progress within. So it's not about movement, doing a lot, but it's about progress, right? Because I used to spend my days on social media but get nothing at the end of the week, and then I looked, so what out of all the things that I'm doing are the most productive or giving me the best results? And slowly I got to where I am today.
When you described that, I thought of the term or the saying, work smart, not hard. Think about what's, I guess, reaping the most benefits, but also what are you enjoying? Because if you enjoy it, you're probably going to be better at it as well.
Exactly. And that's because you spend so much of your time, 70 to 80% in your business, right? And a lot of this time is spent on trying to find clients and promoting yourself, making yourself visible. Then you better enjoy this process, because if you don't enjoy it, it won't work on long term.
Yeah, makes complete sense. So just to reflect a couple of key themes, what I heard there: tuning into what you really enjoy doing, and that's authentic to you as a coach, and that might be trial and error and trying out the different modalities of marketing. Also be aware of all of the experience that you're bringing into the arena as a coach, not just starting from day zero. And someone made an interesting post about this. I think it was Jorge Mascarenas a while ago. He used a black belt analogy, and that how many new coaches don't realize they're already black belts in lots of other topics, but we always think we're starting off as a white belt, and that's just not the case, is it? What am I a black belt in, and what can I bring into my practice? And ultimately, that's a really great place to start and start serving people from, if possible.
Exactly, because it's so beautiful to combine your passions or your knowledge. Maybe you're passionate about coaching, but you have a lot of knowledge in the healthcare industry, for example, and experience. And experience, knowledge, passion builds trust, builds also trust and I'm missing the word, but your reputation basically. And as you said, you're not starting from scratch.
Yeah.
authority, right, in an industry, or and you start to have expertise, and it's less overwhelming, and you have a lot of you have a base that you already know, that you're building on, rather than starting from scratch.
So you tapped into that business building knowledge that you had and the marketing knowledge that you were bringing to the table, as well as working with corporates.
Yes, and project management, because you need to be quite organized, or being organized is a big advantage. Having a plan, having a structure. I'm a big fan of structures, of models. It gives me a really organized and disciplined way of working and staying on track, because I am my HR manager, I'm my sales and marketing director, I'm my everything. So I report into myself, so I need to be organized and disciplined and have a plan. I'm my CFO, so yeah, I think the project management skills come very handy.
Yeah, that sounds very handy. So when you said structure, I was wondering, did you mean structure around the business infrastructure or structure around the way you coach? But probably both, I assume. But you were talking then about the business.
That's right. It's both. It is both. I was talking about the business, but it is also a structure around my coaching. How do I approach coaching? I do love a structured approach, a structured but flexible approach. And yes, it is. There is flexibility. It's not pure following one thing, and that's the way to do things.
But I guess again, that's tapping into your authenticity, a skill that you value, that having structures and systems in place, but like you say, not being wedded to it, but how that can elevate not only your business building, but the way you coach as well.
That's right.
You mentioned about confidence at the start of our conversation. Do you remember when we were talking about confidence? I can't quite remember the threads, but it was a big piece in your business building journey, but also where you support other coachees when you mentor them. So how do they build that confidence? Okay, it's all coming back to me now. When they're in that space of not serving many people, but being thirsty to serve them, they haven't got that track record and the testimonials. How do you navigate that how did you navigate that, and how do you support other people navigating that? And I assume the answer is going to be the same, but maybe there's a distinction.
Let's see. It is a very tricky period when you just qualify. You have a big desire to go out there and apply your skills and help others, but you realize that you're still at the beginning. Your skills are not that formed. You had some practice, but not a lot. And it's here, I think, is the confidence of and the openness that I can't fail, I can only learn. And the fear of failure many times comes in because when coaching is a real beast sometimes, I don't know if beast is the right word, but can be very tricky because, and the same with marketing, you yourself as a coach, because you put yourself out there, and if something goes wrong, is your image in place, or if something doesn't quite go as you want it to be, is your image. Oh, Andrea as a coach is not quite, didn't really work out for me. Or if I market myself, I put something on social media, what will others think of me? If I advertise a pair of shoes or a book, is that book, if it didn't work, is the shoe, is the book, is the whatever pen that I'm advertising or I'm putting out there, if it didn't work, is the pen, I changed the pen. But if my coaching didn't work or wasn't quite what I expected it to be, or the client expected it to be, that's me in the game. There's so much of me in this game or in this profession that I think that's what really makes it not so easy to overcome in terms of confidence to serve clients and confidence to put yourself out there. I'm here to help you and I can help you, where you're not quite sure, can I or can't I? I'll do my best at that point in time. And it's the same with marketing. If you really expose yourself. So the way I navigated it is through courage. I think you get courage because you're so passionate about what you want to do that I just can't give up. I just need to overcome this fear and risk it. If it doesn't quite work, then I learn from it, and I something that I used, the trick that I used for myself, I even after I qualified, I offered a lot my services for free. And for me, it was, if it's free, even if it doesn't quite work, at least it's free. And I can still build that confidence being in a safe place. For me, this offering my services for free. And I want to make it very clear that it's not about not me giving my 120% in it, or even more, my everything in it, but it just helped me psychologically. And also I was very fair and frank with the people that I was this and this and this from my past, and this is who I am, but I'm still at the beginning. Are you okay with this? In that contracting, to be fully transparent. And a lot of people were okay with it, and not overpromise. I think that was also something that really helped me. Or you can see some adverts out there, get 10K a month, grow your business to 10K a month. If I can achieve that, if I can guarantee that, I do it. If I can't, then I don't promise things that I can't achieve, or I don't have proof that I could achieve in the past.
Mm-hmm. The signal slightly cut out as you were talking then, so I just want to reflect also what I think you were saying as well, and that was really tapping into what we can offer as coaches rather than over-promising, and tuning into what can we offer, even if we are a new coach. Maybe they're the best listener, maybe they can offer support and advice around business and marketing. Who knows what that might be, but be really sure of what it is you can offer and tune into that when offering your services or naming the outcome of value of working with you. Was that a fair reflection of some of the themes you were talking about?
Yes, a very good reflection. And also do it when you're at the beginning and you're not quite sure, how to start, and your confidence is not quite there. Do it in a safe way. For me, my safe way was to offer my services for free and be very transparent on the fact that I'm at the beginning of this journey. But if there's another safe way for you, do it that way. Use that, safe environment. Or for example, sometimes you might feel safe to coach friends and family. Although they do say, some schools say, don't coach friends and family. But for me, for example, was so much safer to coach strangers, because I wasn't emotionally attached to their problems, to their situation. And taking action, rather than think about it, or what will they say, how will I be perceived, will I do well, won't I do well, is just do it. A lot of the times was just do it, and then you'll live and learn. There's no way to fail.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my mentors, I'll just add this if you don't mind, Brinsley, one of my business mentors introduced me to this concept. Andrea, and if you fail, I forgot. It's related to failure, and because it's my passion, it came out something along the lines, I'll die failing. And at least I tried something that I was really passionate about, so it's almost like never give up type of approach.
Something I'm going to go back to, because I didn't get a chance to mention it also. You mentioned about how the distinction between selling a pen or a shoe to actually selling ourselves. And it's huge, isn't it, for new coaches? And it's something that I recognized when I developed as a coach. I used to be a promoter. I used to put parties on for a living and DJ, and I was hidden behind a flyer often when I promoted these events. I was really good at it. I learned marketing skills, business, all that stuff, but there was a huge distinction between being behind the flyer and being the flyer. And I just wanted to pick up on that again, because it is a massive, for me anyway, it was a massive transition, and it is quite confronting, and it can be quite scary, can't it, to put ourselves out there, because we are the business. And I guess that speaks to that confidence piece that you spoke about being quite key, particularly for new coaches in their development, around getting to a place where they're either confident or they're confident in certain specifics that they can just go out and take action and learn from those actions, whether they are fails or wins, to put it bluntly.
Exactly. And I like the way you put it, to be behind the flyer or be the flyer itself. It's two completely different things, isn't it? And sometimes in this process, it's really helpful to have somebody to help you, a mentor, a coach. It can be anybody, maybe your husband, your partner, your friend, your anybody, or another coach who's going through the same thing, or has gone through the same process that you have X amount of years ago, to pull you out of the situation. Because sometimes if it's a peer, then it's you build on each other's excuses or fears. But it can go the other way around, where you encourage each other and you help each other. And there's a lot of groups as well, like coach support groups, that can help you to navigate this tricky period of putting yourself out there. I think you don't have to do it alone, because coaching can be a lonely job, not only as a coach but also as a business owner. It can be lonely, so you don't have to do it alone.
And I take it that you tapped into those support networks, where coaching groups, networking groups, working with mentors, working with coaches. This is something that was integral to your business building journey.
Yes, I did. And it's a good reminder, actually. Because sometimes I saw, if they can do it, why can't I? If others can do it, then what's stopping me? And a lot of the times, like in life, you see very successful business owners who have maybe less knowledge than you have, but they had the courage. They are better risk takers, maybe, or they are more action takers, or they have something that helped them to become that successful business owner that they are. But it's a lot about the mindset rather than the mindset is a key component. So it's not only skills and knowledge, isn't it?
Yeah, for me, I would say, and from my experience of working with new coaches, that mindset is willing to make mistakes, willing to be uncomfortable, and there can be a process even to get to that point, because that's the foundation that everything's built upon. Like you say, taking action, right? And usually comes after action, not before. But something needs to happen before to even be confident enough to take action.
Yes, and being comfortable to be uncomfortable. Right? Because that's an area like being uncomfortable, being, yes, comfortable with not being comfortable. It's also a place that you're going to take your clients into, or your clients will be there. So you learning this skill of being comfortable to be uncomfortable is really key.
Mm. And there's knowing it, isn't there, intellectually, and then deciding to live it. And that was two distinctions for me as well. I was aware of the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. I read it, but it took me a while to actually start living it. And that's a process as well. And I think for many new coaches, it's intellectually having this information and then applying it, whether that's in the business building domain or working with our clients' domain.
That's right. That's right. And this is where a mentor was really useful for me, where exactly like you said, I knew it all. I knew the mindset. I read the books. I knew there's no more secrets for me to discover. It's just about how do I apply it? How do I, and I realized that it got to a point where the books, the group work wasn't enough anymore. So I needed that one-to-one. I understand how you applied it for yourself, but how do I apply it for myself, for my particular situation, with my particular fears, with my particular, skills and financial situation and whatever environment and system that I'm part of.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, mentoring was really key, where I couldn't hide. I couldn't, it got to a point that, Andrea, you just need to do it. And my mentor said something that I really, really liked. He said, imagine yourself as being the ice cream van. If you don't sing your song, nobody will know that you're there. And to me, this was like, yeah, you're right. I do need to sing the song, be okay to be visible and put myself out there. And that was a really good lesson and metaphor for me.
That's a great metaphor. I'm just conscious of time, and we kind of mentioned that we're going to try and keep this one snappy. So I guess there's been an emerging theme for me through this conversation, and really it feels like we're speaking to new coaches and the benefit of mentoring and some of the value that you've learned and some of the value that you offer in that mentoring space. Not to discount the work you do as a coach or a supervisor, but that just seems to be the emerging theme of this conversation. When you look back at your business building journey, what advice do you give to yourself, if at all any?
In terms of how would I make it easier for myself if I was to go back? Or
exactly. And actually, let me rephrase this. If you were going to mentor your former self 4 years ago, when you're about to embark on this training, embark on the business building side of your journey, the independent coaching business, what would you say to yourself?
Be brave and trust yourself, and do it despite the fear. So be afraid and do it anyway. Nice. That's my biggest advice. That would be my biggest advice. And a lot of the times I had to take the ego out of the equation, where I thought, I am afraid to put myself out there. I am maybe not that confident. I am doing this, I'm doing that, I'm being this, I'm being that, I have these skills, me. But actually, who am I here for? Is the client, right? And as soon as I shift my focus to the client and not me, I'm not the focus is not the flyer anymore. The focus is, who does this flyer really serve? What difference am I making? That made a real big impact. And I would say to myself, start focusing on the difference that you're making and the impact that you're giving to this world and to that one person or those thousands of people sooner. because as soon as you shift your focus on somebody else, it's so much easier. And the reason why I really love my role as a coach, mentor, and supervisor is because when I change one coach's life, I change all the people's life that he or she works with. I impact the system. And that's what I love about what I do. And that's what I always wanted to do, to make a difference.
Amazing. Really nice to hear about you, I guess, the way you articulated that. And also speaking about the ego as well, how interesting it is to take that shift off the me, or the I, and actually who is it that I'm serving? What are the outcomes and values, outcome and value that I offer? So that was a seminal shift for you. And here you are now with your independent coaching practice, a successful one, I may add, by the sounds of it. I've got a few quick fire questions for you just to wrap up. And before I jump into them, let's go with the quick fire questions now. From your business building journey and your coach development journey, what's any books that stand out for you as being seminal, whether it's around marketing, business, enrolling clients, or developing as a coach? Anything stand out?
Think and Grow Rich, I would say. And yes, I love Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra lately, and to help with the authenticity, to really be yourself and really want to serve others. Nice.
I love Wayne Dyer. It's great. Something on your website. Are you really a vampire from Transylvania?
I am. I was born in Transylvania. Yes. And I'm only dangerous after midnight. You're safe.
Lucky for me. Yeah. Thankfully, we're virtual as well. I saw also on your website, you mentioned about having a profound experience from coaching yourself, which is why you like supporting others. And maybe you've mentioned some of those profound moments, but when you think about your profound experience of being coached, what will that be?
It's really difficult to put my finger on one thing, to name one thing. But for me, it really helped me with confidence and trust in myself, trust my intuition, trust myself. And it links again back to authenticity, to be yourself. For me, that's what the big theme was in being coached, and also coach others.
So what's next on the horizon? Anything developing?
Next is really growing this masterpiece of coaching, mentoring, and supervision in terms of helping coaches in a holistic way. And I really see myself as impacting other coaches through collaborating, through partnerships like Animas and ICCS, because as I said, I feel like my work with coaches is not only the work with the coaches themselves, but with their clients, with their families, with their systems, it's so wide, like a web. And that's where I see myself, and a lot of group work coming my way, which is not something that I've done a lot of in the past. So it's relatively new, the group work for me.
Exciting. Nice to hear you use that word masterpiece.
It really came to me in this, you've inspired it, this conversation inspired the word, but I think it's a really good word for where I am right now and what I feel about my work.
And the phrase for me comes up, second time lucky, because I feel like we nailed it, this conversation.
Thank you. It was it's so beautiful. You make your your interviewee feel so at home and, easy to open and to talk about what's going on. Your curiosity is really, really comes across, and it's really
Thank you.
beautiful.
I really appreciate it. And I've loved speaking with you today and finding out a little bit more about you and your business building journey. And I think there's some really great takeaways for people that are listening, and myself also. So yeah, thank you so much. Where can people find you moving forward if they wanted to have a conversation?
LinkedIn is the best place, Andrea Matuz. And also the coachsupervisor.co is my supervision website, or andreamatuzcoaching.com is my coaching and mentoring website. So these are a few places.
Bro, thank you, Andrea. Wishing you a lovely day.
Thank you, Brinsley.